What happened to Elaine? Can she come back? So there's injuries. Clearly, they're not disclosing what the injuries are. Is it the same thing that happened to her for many years? There's an interview doing the rounds recently where her former coach Stephen Francis, he's speaking about issues with, from a marital perspective. I don't know those details. I've said this before, and this is the analogy I've used, and I don't like using the analogy because I don't like to compare people with inanimate objects. But when she decided to leave Stephen Francis MVP group, you're fine to do that. Nothing is wrong with that. But what you need to do when you're leaving is to make sure that the arrangements are in place so that your success can move forward. And so it struck me as odd, to put it mildly, that you would have your significant other take charge of your development. He's not Bobby Kersey. That doesn't mean he doesn't have the capabilities of being a high-class coach, but there's no track record of it, right? It's like me. Took a couple coaching courses. I couldn't coach a rabbit to run in a race, right? I feel confident that they would win. So you don't take the Ferrari and bring it to the guy on the corner to take care of. It doesn't work like that, in my estimation. So I think that's part of the problem, if we're being honest with ourselves here, that the transition away was not done in a manner that's befitting for the level of athlete that we're talking about. So we're talking about, at that point in time, the fastest woman alive, over 100 and 200 at that time. So you don't just get, and someone who also needed to be managed because of injuries, right? So we think about the intervening years, the years between the two Olympics, nothing, right? There's some sickness, there's issues with managing the Olympics, and had the Olympics been in 20, it could have been problematic, and 21 became perfect, they're better shape, all of that. Can she come back now? Of course she can come back. To come back means that you must admit that something went wrong. And we cannot all blame it on the injury. So you have to blame it on the team that manages the injury. All that. Every athlete gets injured. There's not a single athlete running out here or any kind of sport that's operating 100%. It doesn't work like that. They have niggles. They have things that prevent them from training the way they want. Sometimes it's elevated to a point where there's some kind of an intervention that has to occur, whether that's surgery or rest or something of the sort. But there are ways in which that you can manage a world-class athlete to be in a space where they can continue to be competitive. Clearly, this didn't happen. And so they have to acknowledge that that's not working out. And it's not easy also to have the same person that you're having a relationship with to be in charge of your program. Go ask Jackie Joyner Kersey and Bobby. It worked out, but it wasn't, they had to create these kind of boundaries. They had to figure it out. Anybody remember 96 Olympics? Bobby took her off when Jackie was doing athlete things that would further destroy her because she was injured. And he had to be the husband in that moment and not the coach, right? That's the kind of an interesting kind of relationship. Some of those hats don't always work the right way. You have to recognize that something isn't right and you have to fix the team, the whole team. There's only a few people that you can really trust, I imagine, to take charge of somebody of that ilk. Many of them are not in Jamaica. And so I don't really know how they feel about it. It might take a fresh start somewhere else. It might take another. If you look at the landscape right now in Jamaica, there's certain places you can't end up. You can't end up going over to where Shelly is, if you understand the story. So we're going to need some time there maybe she needs to go to LA. I really think coming to LA, it's a beautiful place, hanging out in Santa Monica or some place like that would be a different kind of a way to think about it. There's time ticking on her, and we can't compare her to a Shelly-Ann Fraser-Pryce because she's way out there in terms of her ability to keep at that level for so long. She's like different, freak of nature in a way, So if we think about normal athletic performances and peaking and when your body starts to get more injuries, she's getting up into that point. She has, I think, Paris World Championship after, and after that could be problematic. And so right now, I would say you have to save the career by finding a new system that can get you in the right shape. Otherwise, trouble.